Is your ex blaming you for everything that went wrong in your relationship? Is someone not treating you right? Are you wondering if you should stand up for yourself? Or if you should just sit there and take it because you want to manifest them back? Then make sure to watch this video until the end, because this is exactly what I'm going to talk about today. What's up, superheroes? Welcome back to my channel, the place where we make the impossible possible. I'm Scarlet Grace from Seraph.com. I'm a manifestation coach, and today's video is all about what to do when someone is treating you unfairly, especially if that someone is a specific person you're manifesting. If you're new here and you want to learn how to manifest any desire fast with the law of attraction and Neville Goddard's teachings, then start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you won't miss any video that could change your life. And if you need some extra help to manifest your specific person or your ex back, then my new course, Manifest Your Specific Person, is now available. It walks you through everything you need to manifest a specific person. You can find the link in the description below. So a very, very common question I get asked a lot in my Facebook group and in private coaching sessions and in comments under many of my videos is along the lines of these. So you're trying to manifest a specific person, and it's usually an ex you want back. And maybe you haven't spoken in a while, and then you meet them, or they text you and they are behaving in a negative or entitled way, like being standoffish or treating you like you were the sole cause of the problem and they had nothing to do with whatever created your breakup. Like it's all your fault, it's not their fault, or anything like that. And a very common question I get asked is, how do I react to that when it happens? Like, I've been focusing my imagination, I've created a wonderful imaginal scene, I've checked that I followed all the steps, and I've been using it for a few weeks, and then this happens. So, do I stand up for myself even if it leads to a fight and compromises my attempt to manifest them back? Or do I have to tolerate this behavior because I'm wanting to manifest them back? So I wanted to make a video to address this because this is actually a very important topic. The question, how do I react to that, is the wrong question here. Because if you're asking, how do I react to that, you're not thinking from everyone is me pushed out. If you're operating from everyone is you pushed out, then it's not about the reaction that you should or shouldn't have. You do not manifest with your reactions to the world. You manifest with your beliefs, you manifest with your thoughts, with your mental diet, and with how you use your imagination. So when anything at all happens in the physical world, the first question on your mind should never be, how do I react to that? You cannot manifest by reacting to things. You can only manifest proactively by deliberately choosing how to focus your imagination to get an end result you want. Not micromanaging things that come up, not trying to problem solve every little thing that pops up that looks like an obstacle, like someone suddenly acting all entitled towards you. You manifest based on who you are. So when something you don't like comes up, like your specific person appearing out of nowhere and acting all entitled and blaming you for the breakup and taking no responsibility for their actions, the first question on your mind should be, what inside me is manifesting this? Because everyone is you pushed out. So if this is manifesting in your reality, there are two possible scenarios. First of all, if you just started the process of manifesting this person back a few days ago, this reaction may be completely irrelevant that they're having because it's the result of your past thoughts. So you just have to keep focusing your mind on the end result you want. you don't have to deal with this somehow. And it doesn't really matter how you deal with this. It doesn't matter if you stand up for yourself or if you say nothing, because the whole event is a manifestation of something you used to focus your mind on a week ago or a month ago. It's not relevant now because you are training yourself to focus your mind in a new way to get the end result you want. So you don't have to deal with this. It's a remnant of the past. Like getting an email from a client that just wasn't delivered in time and you've already spoken with them on the phone and resolved the problem already. Well, feel free to ignore that kind of thing. It's old news. Don't focus on it at all. But if you've been imagining for a while now, like a month or two, and you haven't received your end result yet, and something like this comes up, this just shows that some part of you is manifesting this. So instead of wondering how you should react to something like that, your focus should be on what part of yourself, what part of your thoughts, of the things you focus your imagination on, of your belief system, is manifesting something like this. Because if someone is blaming you, for example, for everything that went wrong in your relationship, do you deep down believe that you're to blame? That you have a bigger share of negative things you did or negative reactions, that you contributed to this breakup more than the other person did? If yes, then that's why it is being projected to you like that. That's why they're blaming you, because deep down you feel that you're more responsible for this breakup than the other party was. Or maybe you are used to being blamed for things you didn't do. You have this part of you feeling that the world is unfair, or that people tend to treat you unfairly and blame you for stuff you didn't do. That doesn't have to do with romantic relationships necessarily. It may be a widespread pattern, maybe something from your childhood. Maybe your parents didn't treat you fairly, or your teachers, and you have grown up to believe that people will always treat you unfairly, that the world isn't fair, that you're going to be often blamed for stuff you didn't do. And this specific thing with your specific person is just a small part of this big pattern that is based on the belief that you're not treated fairly in general, that life doesn't treat you fairly. Or maybe you feel that you're not good enough, and that's why someone is blaming you. Like they're blaming you for making mistakes, but it's not about not being treated fairly. Deep down you feel that you're not good enough, so you are manifesting a person telling you that you made all these mistakes. So what does it mean when you make a ton of mistakes? It may mean that you're not good enough. And that's your way of manifesting it in your physical world, because that's what's going on in your inner world. And to give you an example of a type of such pattern, I, for many years in my life, had a pattern of betrayal. People would always betray me, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why, because it wasn't like you're friends with someone and you're competing for the same thing and it's something huge, so they betray you to get that thing. It's like being betrayed all the time for the most insane and stupid stuff. Like someone getting you fired, and the reason they did what they did was because they wanted to get 2 hours off work and go watch a movie, and they could throw you under the bus so they could sneak out. Something stupid like that, where you can't believe this thing is happening. Like you can't believe someone can be that cruel and stupid to do something like that. So I had this pattern of betrayal, and it kept getting worse and worse. And I used to have this friend who wasn't a really nice person. Only I was trying to convince myself that this is a nice person. And this person would blame me for everything all the time and betrayed me. I've lost count how many times. And it is crazy because I honestly, that was many years ago, before I realized that everyone is me pushed out, of course. And I would always be punctual. I would always be there for her. I honestly was as close as one can get to the perfect friend. And she would blame me for everything. Like, you're unreliable, which I never was. You're lying all the time, which I generally don't do. You were never there for me, and I was the only one who was always there for her. And all the things she was blaming me for were things that she was doing to me. She was never on time, and she was unreliable, and she kept lying to me, and she kept saying all kinds of nasty stuff about me to other people, and I couldn't figure out how this is happening. And it wasn't only this person that had this behavior, it was other people, but that was the most prominent case. And the crazy thing was that every time we fought, even though it was 100% obvious that I had nothing to do with creating that fight, everyone was like, oh, every fight needs two people to happen, so if she's yelling at you, that means she did something too, and you have to apologize first if you're a good friend. And I was like, but I did nothing wrong. Like, I did everything to help someone, and they're yelling at me for something that someone else did. How is that something I created? So this kind of thing continued for a very long time, and I just couldn't find a way to resolve it, especially with this person. Again, it wasn't the only case, it was just the most painful and prominent case, and it lasted for many years. And I had tried apologizing even when it wasn't my fault, and I had tried figuring out how this person's mind worked so that I could do things the right way, according to them, and it didn't work. And I tried to figure out what other friends of ours did so that I could do the same, because they wouldn't be fighting with this person all the time. So I thought, if I imitate their behavior, maybe that's the secret, and it didn't work either. And I tried removing that person from my life for over a year, and it didn't work either. The pattern never broke. And it was driving me crazy. And then I started asking myself, first of all, why did I choose to have a person like that in my life anyway? She betrayed me a ton of times. She yells at me, she does not respect me, she thinks the worst of me. So why did I become friends with this specific person in the first place? There must be a reason, right? This is a conscious choice. No one forced me to be friends with this person. So why did I choose this person? Why did I keep this person in my life for so many years? And why the heck did I care so much what she thought about me? And why did I want to fix this? This was a nasty person. This was a person that really didn't care about me. Why would I be so set on fixing this relationship, of making it work? And so I started digging to find what need I had that I projected into this relationship, and thought that if I made this relationship work, then that need of mine, that emotional need, would be covered. And I realized that because I had this pattern of betrayal going on and being treated unfairly and blamed for stuff I never did, what I wanted in this relationship was for her to keep treating me badly so that I could prove that I am perfect. And yeah, basically, this was it. I wanted to create an event where she blamed me. I had made zero mistakes. I was the perfect little angel. And then everyone would see that I was perfect and would say, you know, you've been treated unfairly and she's evil because you're perfect and you're so loving towards her and she's treating you unfairly, and so we're taking your side. You're 100% right. Let's walk away and leave her behind. Because that was my pattern. Because if you have been treated unfairly like that a few times in your life, there's some part of you that, to feel closure, you want to recreate a similar event to the event that originally created this belief that the world is unfair or that people will betray you, and make it so that it has a different ending, so that it results in something different. Like back then, somebody did something nasty to you, and instead of the teacher punishing the person who did something nasty to you, they blamed you and they punished you. So you want to recreate that event, an event with similar elements, and you want to pretty much do exactly what you did back then, but have the whole thing have a different ending, where the guilty party is the one that's being punished and not you. But guess what? You cannot do that in the physical world. You know why? Because if you have a pattern of betrayal, that's what you're going to manifest in the physical world. You cannot manifest a different result to this scenario just because you want it if your belief is, I'm being treated unfairly, or people expect from me to be perfect, otherwise they won't love me, which, as you may have noticed, was part of my pattern too. I struggled so hard to be perfect because I had this belief that I'm being betrayed because I'm not good enough, and if I do everything perfect, then people will love me and will take my side, and they won't blame me for being responsible for what happened. If they're blaming me for being responsible, that means that I didn't do everything right, so I'm not good enough, and that's why I'm being blamed. So that's why your reactions in the physical world are not relevant, because it doesn't matter how you react. You cannot have that kind of closure. You cannot recreate an event similar to the original betrayal so that you can get your happy ending and feel closure and feel healed. If what is active inside of you is that betrayal pattern or that being treated unfairly pattern, you have to realize that you are in charge and that you do not need other people to take your side. That you have been creating this sort of pain over and over for yourself, that it's all in your mind, that you created this scenario and it will always turn out badly because that's the way you wrote the script. You have to go inside of you and do some work with yourself to remind yourself every time those feelings come up that no, this is just a pattern. I know I feel hurt, I'm used to feeling hurt in this specific way. It's not real, it's just a script I created. And if I have like 20 strong, emotionally charged memories of similar incidents, I can use revision. I can go back and change what happened so that this emotional charge can go away, and so I can finally stop producing this kind of scenario in my life over and over again that has a nasty ending every single time, and I can finally create something different. So the question is, how do you realize if you have some kind of bigger pattern there that is creating this kind of situation, that is reflecting in your life, in your romantic life, for example, or in the behavior of your specific person? And the way to figure out if you have a larger pattern at play here is to ask yourself if the thoughts you're having when thinking about what this person said is something familiar to you, and if the feelings you're feeling are familiar to you. For example, if you have a pattern of it's unfair, it's something you will have thought many other times in your life. Like the moment you feel you're being treated really unfairly, you have a specific series of thoughts, because your brain is trying to bring up all the other times you felt you were treated really, really unfairly. Regardless of whether those incidents were a few months ago or 30 years ago, your brain has a series of stories it uses every time to support the belief that yes, I'm always being treated unfairly, or that yes, the world is an unfair place and you cannot expect to be treated fairly. People will always treat you unfairly. So you will feel those very familiar feelings of it is unfair. If you notice what's going on in your body when you think about this recent incident, you will be able to spot the exact places in your body where you feel that emotional pain. So you will know what it feels like, this feeling of being treated unfairly, for example, or betrayal, or whatever it is. It has a very specific feeling that you are very familiar with, because if it's a pattern, that means that you've been feeling this way for years on a regular basis. So you get this very familiar feeling, and in addition to that, your brain brings up a series of stories from your past to support this belief that yes, indeed, I'm being treated unfairly regularly, or the world is an unfair place. And it will go like, I don't believe this person did this to me. I don't believe my specific person said those things to me. I don't believe he's blaming me for everything that went wrong in our relationship. But on the other hand, of course, he will be blaming me for everything, because people always blame me for stuff I didn't do. Like when I was in 5th grade, Joe kicked me, and then the teacher expelled me instead of punishing him. And it was so unfair. And then 3 years later, you will have a pattern of those kinds of stories. Those are the stories that created this belief in the first place. Like there was one incident somewhere in the distant past that convinced you that you're being treated unfairly always, or that the world is an unfair place. And then every story, every event that happened that could be translated as, I will always be treated unfairly, that's just my fate, or anything like that, your brain files it and it uses it to support that original belief that you're being treated unfairly and this will always happen. So when something relevant to this belief, whatever it is, whether that's a pattern of betrayal or unfairness or whatever, when an event happens that falls under that category, you can figure out that it falls in that category because your brain will bring up a ton of similar stories that follow the same pattern, whether that's from 5th grade or from last week. And that's how you know that you have a pattern going on. And the mistake most people make is to think that if they change their reaction in the physical world, they're going to break the pattern. But patterns do not get broken in the physical world because the physical world is just you pushed out. It's your thoughts that you need to change. It's the belief that you need to change for the physical world to reflect that change and to get different reactions from people. So it doesn't really matter if you stand up for yourself or if you just suck it up and say nothing, because the pattern won't be broken either way if that pattern of betrayal or hurt or whatever it is stays active inside of you. And it doesn't matter if you walk away from a person that is having this kind of behavior towards you and never talk to them again, because this kind of pattern, if it's active inside of you, it is going to be created in other relationships in your life. So it's not even about your specific person. It's truly all about you. You have to dismantle that pattern. You have to recognize that you have that kind of pattern and say, okay, what does that reveal about me? It reveals that I have been betrayed too many times, for example, and I expect all people to betray me and blame me for stuff I didn't do. And I also probably believe that I'm not good enough or I wouldn't be blamed for all kinds of mistakes. So this is what is active inside of me. So now what do I want to believe about myself? For example, if you have the belief of expecting the world to treat you unfairly or that the whole world is an unfair place, so of course you're going to be treated unfairly, then flip it and decide that the world is actually a fair place. And you know why it's a fair place? Because you are creating it with your thoughts. So if you want the world to be a fair place, you can make the world a fair place. If you want the world to be rigged in your favor, you can create a world that's rigged in your favor, where you get to win more than others. It's simple as that. You decide how your world operates. How things have worked until now is the result of your unconscious thoughts and expectations. But now you can take control. You can decide how you want your world to operate. It's not a matter of pushing something to change. It's realizing that even if something was true in your world for 30 or 40 years, even if you have lived through a series of betrayals, being treated unfairly for 30 or 40 years, that was still only because you lived through something that convinced you that the world is unfair or that people are going to betray you. And that's the only reason the same kind of thing has been happening in your life over and over and over for 30 or 40 years. It's not something that's difficult to change. It only lasted that long because you didn't know it was there. But now you do know it was there. So you can make it stop being there by reminding yourself that it's all in your mind, because everyone is you pushed out. So it's only your thoughts that matter. And installing a new belief. And if you don't know how to do it, I have videos about exactly that thing, and I'm going to link a few videos in the description so that you can go watch them. And also of being mindful of your mental diet, of your thoughts. When you want to change a pattern, you cannot let your mind be sucked into the same old thoughts it used to be sucked into before. If something negative like that happens, if your specific person is treating you unfairly, and it happens again next week, you cannot allow your mind to go back into those same old thoughts about how you have always been treated unfairly and in 5th grade and whatever. You have to be mindful of what thoughts you're having. And when you start having those thoughts about 5th grade, for example, you stop yourself and say, hey, stop. That's a pattern. That's what we're breaking. The world is fair because everyone is me pushed out, and I decided that my world is going to be fair from now on. End of story. We're not going back there. And if you need to use revision to change what happened in the past, if you have a specific event that weighs heavily on you and it doesn't allow you to convince yourself that the world is a fair place, you can use revision. You can use the revision technique to change what happened back then so that you don't have to carry that weight of that betrayal or that unfairness from who knows how many years ago. So let me know in the comments if you like this video. Give it a thumbs up, share it so other people can watch it too, and if you haven't already, then subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I put out new videos every Sunday to help you manifest an amazing life.